Welcome back. It's still Business Morning right here on Channels Television. Now, let's talk about Nigeria's financial markets, talking about how to expand or deepen Africa's debt market and, the financial connections that we need on the continent in order to maximize what we have. And I'm going to have this conversation with an individual who was in Abidjan with me, Ejikeme Okoli, the Director of Africa Operations at United Capital Group. Good to have you on the program. I think I saw you at the airport then when we had the delay in flights and all of that. But thank God we are back home. We went through all of that. Good to have you on the program, Mr. Okoli. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to be on the show.
Yeah, I know, right? And your experience at the AFDB meetings, how would you describe it? All the conversations and all of that. I personally get frustrated after having all those great ideas and conversations, and then we come back and continue the norm. What's your experience?
The AFDB meetings were excellent. I provided room for Africans, especially those in the financial services sector, to have the right conversations on issues plaguing the continent, how we can mobilize more capital, especially patient long-term capital, to solve developmental issues for Africa. These conversations are rife. They will never be enough because Africa is in dire need of solutions that are homegrown. So financial services players and indeed all stakeholders, including policymakers and the broad spectrum of players that shape the financial services sector in Africa, to come together and find long-term, long-lasting, sustainable solutions that at least will move the needle in terms of solving developmental issues. And it also provided room for a change of guard at the helm of the AFDB leadership. So I believe it's interesting times ahead because with new leadership comes a new approach to solving developmental issues. So let's give full support to Mr. Sidi and hope that it's good times ahead.
Yeah, and I guess it's people like you, United Capital, that will make whatever plan he has work. And that's why, talking about connecting the continent, I think you did start off expand into Cote d'Ivoire. You used that opportunity.
Yes, excellent. Our expansion into Cote d'Ivoire couldn't be come at a better time because now we are seeing that Africa is in dire need of players who are able to connect the continent in ways that gaps that erstwhile used to exist are now are bridged. For us, our foray into Cote d'Ivoire this time is part of our broader Pan-African strategy. We've always been Pan-African in our approach to business, especially on the capital raising side, helping especially corporate players connect with financiers on different parts of the continent. But we've decided to move beyond that to become less transactional and more collaborative, more developmental in the markets that we operate by deploying long-term direct capital that builds businesses, builds communities, provides solutions to local financial issues, drives financial inclusion, and of course creates jobs, which are all elements of economic development and transformation, such that the communities where we operate, we know we are also creating an impact while at the same time addressing issues that deal with access to finance, capital, and growth in wealth creation for the populace that we serve.
Sounds interesting. I mean, we were both part of those conversations. How Africa should be more independent and not depend on, foreign aids for our development, social needs, and all of that. So, where does this fit in as you make this expansion? Where does it fit into that, the crux of the conversation of Africa becoming independent?
Yeah, Africa's journey to independence will be a slow, long, patient journey. And I'm glad that we live in times where even we have taken that bold step to even deploy our own capital, our own homegrown resources to invest in markets that we believe in. Just like you said, Africa needs its own solutions. Africa needs its own capital. Africa needs to bring in its entire population, its domestic output into the financial system, with over $2 trillion in terms of GDP, and a population, that also is almost about 1 trillion across the continent. So the wealth of resources available at our disposal can't be overemphasized. But we need to start thinking long term, to find solutions to our homegrown issues. Yes, the issues around aid, we should depend less on aid. However, we can depend on investment. So we should stop seeing foreign support as aid, which is in form of grants that will never be repaid. Instead, we should seek foreign investment, which will come in, the capital that stimulates job creation, that stimulates economic output in ways that are progressive, in ways that are sustainable, in ways that are quantifiably show incremental growth across key indices that reflect growth of key economies. We are doing that with our Pan-African expansion. Yes, we might be one institution out of many, but the good thing is that the Nigerian financial sector, just like our music and entertainment, it's becoming something we can export proudly. Today, all over the world, Nigerian music, Nigerian entertainment, it's something to reckon with. Just the same way financial services on the banking side has been hugely successful, on the continent. We have banks like UBA taking charge, playing in 20 different African countries, present on 4 continents. That's also bridging access to finance. We are the first Nigerian capital market operator to obtain a foreign license outside Nigeria, in Cote d'Ivoire, in the West African Economic and Monetary Union. So we are also taking that step to show that we must start to see Africa as a collective. Though we may differ by political boundaries, by geographical boundaries, by currency, but when we start to find the solutions that work, connecting capital from one end of the continent to solve needs for financing, needs for wealth creation on other ends of the continent, other players will take cue. Then Africa becomes more self-sustaining, even in terms of what the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement was supposed to achieve in terms of regional integration, where African countries, African players get involved in trade amongst themselves with less dependence on should I say, more advanced economies that will result in currency volatility. Now, when more African players become trade partners, the issues around currency become less of an issue, less of a hassle, and we're playing in a regional bloc. The beauty about our expansion into the West African Economic and Monetary Union with Cote d'Ivoire as the economic nerve center is that with a single license, we are able to provide services across 8 different countries, serving 147 million people with a GDP that's growing higher than 6% in the last 5 to 10 years, with inflation levels as low as 2.5%. So all the elements that show that we can plan sustainably into the future are the reasons why we decided to take that bold step to say we are deploying patient capital, long-term capital, investing in markets where we hope to play for the foreseeable future, for very long term. And we're also creating jobs locally. 100% of all the employees in our new subsidiary located in Ivory Coast are all Ivorians. The board members are composed of 50% of those in the Wamo region and 50% from Nigeria. So there you're going to see skills transfer. We will learn from each other. We will see what dynamics exist on both sides of the continent. And as we continue to expand further, we will develop the capabilities for playing in other African markets. Nigeria has one of the most successful, most stable and robust financial systems in Africa. Kudos to the central bank, to the Securities and Exchange Commission, and indeed all regulators that have ensured that despite all the volatilities in the global economy, Nigerian financial system has stayed strong, for over a decade. So those are the expertise we are, should I say, exporting, to African economies, such that we are able to create solutions that have lasting impact. in certain economies where African economies as well have gone through a, should I say, financial system crisis. Ghana, for example, in recent times, before the onset of its new administration, most of the financial institutions that survived those crises were Nigerian banks. So it speaks to our adherence to strong risk management practices, strong controls. So those are things that we should be proud of as Nigerians, that we can take, into other African economies, knowing that we have what it takes to succeed.
Yeah.
And when other countries and players take a cue, it should be good times ahead for the continent.
Yeah, but it does seem like we still have a lot of convincing to do to get more players in the capital or the debt market. So even you need Ivorians, for instance, to be part and invest, in your business, in your asset management. Even back here in Nigeria, my last guest, we're just talking about how to get more listings on the NGX. So while we're calling for the foreign investors, it does seem like even locally, we need to do more convincing to get investors on board.
Absolutely, and it's something that won't happen. It's not a quick fix. It's going to take time. It's going to take tangible outcomes to also help in that convincing story. So even the players who are listed, for example, are they performing well? What's the regulatory framework like? What's the regulatory environment like? Other players who are not listed will be looking at the pros and cons. But having more entities listed on an exchange, create deepens the capital market. If you look at advanced economies, the financial system is somewhat ineffective without a robust capital market. If you want to raise long-term financing today, not many financial institutions, in terms of banks, will be able to deploy long-term capital. So when you have an alternative where you can issue debt securities, across several maturities, you're also creating different alternatives for existing players, be they governments, be they businesses, small corporates, large corporates. So it's going to take a while, but Nigeria has shown, at least in recent times, that we have a robust capital market that many African countries can take a cue from. We're in Ethiopia about 2 weeks ago, participating in the Ethiopia Finance Forum at the instance of the National Bank of Ethiopia. The Nigerian exchange is a board advisor to the Ethiopia Stock Exchange because they've seen how well we have done in terms of having the right regulation, having a robust stock exchange that can compete with, any country in the world, and they're taking a cue from us. So yes, while there has to be a lot of convincing, we must also look back and be happy with how far we've come, know where the gaps are, and that gives the encouragement to take on the future. But the future isn't a quick fix, and there will definitely need to be more players. Well, the key game changer is to have the firms who are doing it today to be the role models for those that will take on this journey tomorrow. And we are proud to be playing our part at this time.
Yeah, I knew you would end with that. I mean, a role model, and you are the role model. But congratulations on your expansion, Director of Africa Operations, United Capital Group, Mr. Ejikeme Okoli.